So I'm here today with my friend Colston Harris from Bristol, Hartcliffe, and just going to ask Colston a little bit about his story and what God's done in his life and how God's been leading him. So, Colston, do you just want to explain a little bit about how did you meet God? What's been happening, and how did all that come about?
Okay, no worries. I'm 37 years old and I met Jesus 8 years ago in my bedroom. I got a praying nan, so my nan's 80 now. She's still alive and she's just a powerful woman of God, and she's walked with the Lord for over 40 years. So, it was the prayers of our nan. I look back now and I just see, the grace of God upon my life. It was her prayers. She prayed us out of the kingdom of darkness. I grew up knowing Jesus, praying to Jesus. Nan used to take me and my brother Wesley to gospel churches, Pentecostal churches. My brother was 3 and I was 4 or 5 years old. So we was born again and we had the Holy Spirit in us growing up. And I would speak to Jesus and pray to Jesus. And so I knew of him growing up. But from the age of, I think it was about 15, 16, I kind of come away from that path, got caught up in the drug scene. Ecstasy was the party drug in the 90s, and I was hooked. Quite literally, I would go to underground raves and just pop these ecstasy tablets, and once you take one, that's it, you're done for. You just get caught up. It's not good. So for 13 years, I then was battling with alcohol and drug abuse for 13 years non-stop. It got to a point at the age of 24 where I abused the cocaine and the drugs and the drink so much, I sheared my stomach lining. So the insides of my stomach lining was kind of sheared. The spleen was not there, and it was just acid. And the pain was unbearable. It's like having razor blades in your stomach, just constantly. It was unbearable. And I went to the doctors to see about it and what we can do about it. And they said, you need to take these tablets to heal your spleen. But I would take the tablets and still do the drink and do the drugs. And, I was messed up. So I wouldn't allow my body time to heal. And this happened for a further 5 years. So it got to a point where I was 29 years old. I basically came to an end of myself, so it was over the Christmas period, just the beginning of 2013. I went out on a 10-day drinking drugs binge, and it wasn't good. My stomach was red raw. I was in agony. I was in so much pain. I wanted to kill myself. And I'm causing my family heartache. So after this 10-day, I believe it was 10 days drinking drug binge, I've gone into my bedroom and I've just gone on the internet, and I don't know how I come across this prayer on the internet. Honestly, it's like I just come up and there's this prayer on the internet talking about Jesus, and I know of Jesus, so I cried out to the Lord 8 years ago in my bedroom, beginning of 2013. I said, Jesus, forgive me. I can't cope. I need you. I believe in your help. And I was struggling with 13 years of drinking drug abuse. I would smoke 30, 40 fags a day. I had porn addiction. I was messed up. But in crying out to the Lord that day, the minute I said that prayer and called upon the name of the Lord, I did get delivered. And that's what the word of God says. If you will call upon the name of the Lord, call from the heart, you will get delivered. And there's this peace and joy that he can give you, which the world cannot give. And he came that day and it literally just blew me away. It took me a month to figure out what was going on, because the minute I cried out to the Lord, I I crashed to the floor. So I fell on my knees and I roared. I was like, ah, but I couldn't stop weeping. And it was for about 10 minutes, I believe, non-stop. And I saturated my bed sheets in tears. And I'm like, and I just felt like, all of hell just come out of me, quite literally. I felt so much peace, joy, love. And I've gone into my wardrobe and I got a Bible in my wardrobe. And at that time, you don't tell your mates in Artcliffe that you got a Bible and stuff like that, So I've got the Bible out and I'm laid on my bed and I just started to read. Beginning of 2013, after a 10-day drinking drugs binge. Now I'm on my bed with a Bible reading, ball of mess. And I'm like, why am I reading the Bible? Why have I got so much joy and peace and clarity in my mind? What is going on? And I just couldn't put the Bible down. I was like, started in Genesis, got to Job, and I quite literally threw it. I couldn't understand it. I'm like, what? But God, he helped me during that course of time. But as I was reading the Bible on my bed, I felt like, I said the prayer again. I thought, this feels really good. I'm going to say this prayer again. And as I cried out to the Lord again and repented, I broke down weeping and crying again. So 1 minute I'm on the floor crying and the next minute I'm on my bed with my Bible crying. And quite literally everything changed that day. I walked out of my bedroom, I've gone to work a couple of days later and my boss and my workmates are freaked right out because I used to swear, I used to do wasn't good. And there was a complete shift in my character. I stopped smoking, I stopped drinking, I stopped the drugs, I started eating healthy food and I'm saving my money and I'm like, Mum, I wanna, I'm not smoking anymore, I'm eating healthy food. And then I ended up signing up to go to the gym, so I'm training hard, I'm eating healthy food. And it, I was doing this for a few months and my mum was freaked out. My mum was completely freaked out and she went to Nan and she said, something's going on, something's happened with Colston. My dad was freaked out because we used to row, we used to argue. I had a big attitude problem. I was constantly flat out on the drugs. I didn't care about anyone but me. And Jesus came and he delivered me instantly of everything, quite literally. And my dad said to me, he said, I don't care what anyone says. He said, there's got to be a God because you completely changed. And to give up all that at once, and we used to argue and we don't argue anymore. And my dad told me this, dropping me to work, and I was weeping. I was weeping because I wanted to hear that. I wanted to hear that. Why? Because we're here to bear fruit, to give God glory. That's why we're here. We're here to abide in him, to be an empty vessel so he can fill us and shine through us. So we must surrender to him so that he can fill us up. Then it's light and easy. There's no striving, and I'm 8 years in my walk with the Lord, but the last 3 years, he's broke me and crushed me, and humbled me. And every day now, it's like I'm waking up and it's like, Lord, I know there's no good thing in me, but you're my pearl. I love you and I need you, and I just cling to my beloved and lean on his grace every day. And I go wherever he leads me now. So I had an encounter with Jesus 8 years ago in my bedroom. He set me free, radical deliverance. And then the Lord set me on path on this journey where I was crying out for truth. I was hungry, and he led me to Carmel City Church where I went through night school and did some teaching and stuff there. But the last 3 years in my walk, I've gone from here to here. In 2018, the Lord spoke to my spirit and told me to go into Inverness, Scotland, over the Easter weekend. And I flew there, bought a return ticket thinking I was coming back from Scotland. Went into Inverness to pray over the lands, to preach the gospel on the streets, to blow the shofar. And I did that. One woman got born again on the streets. I connected up with people in a Baptist church. They took me in, and it was beautiful. But while I was there, the Lord told me not to go back to Bristol. And I was wrestling with this decision because my boss was expecting me to come back to go to work. There was stuff going on in Bristol. My mum and dad was expecting me to come back. I mean, I was a mama's boy. I grew up around family, around comfort. I was spoiled. So to make this decision to completely leave everything by faith and go with nothing was, but I knew it was the Lord. So with great difficulty, I made that decision. I didn't go back to Bristol. The Lord told me to fly into Ireland. And so I flew into Ireland, flew into Belfast. I had hardly no money on me. But in Luke 10, it says, a labourer is worthy of his wages. Take nothing with you, no staff, no purse, no money. A labourer is worthy of his wages. So when you go led by the Spirit of the living God, he's already got the provision. He just needs us to trust him. We don't have to beg bread. We go doing the work of the kingdom, and then he will bring in the necessary resources for you. And then you grow and develop your intimacy with the Father, and you learn how faithful he is, and then it becomes this adventure. You go from faith to faith and glory to glory, because just like Peter, we need to get out the boat. And there's many in the church, we sitting down and we praying for revival, and the Lord's like, get out, you go, the move of God's in you. So I've been kind of out the boat on water for the last 3 years, and the Lord's taken me into Ireland. He's taken me into Malta. From Malta, I flew into Vietnam. He took me into Bangkok, Chiang Mai, Thailand. Then I flew back from Chiang Mai with my inheritance in a lot. The Lord really equipped me when I was in Thailand. Flew into London, and then he had me go around the whole of Scotland, opening up ancient wells. He took me up to the top of Ben Nevis Mountain in 2018 to blow the shofar and decree over the lands. And then he took me from Scotland to Norway. I've been in Oslo, been into Bergen, fishing, preaching the gospel, making disciples, baptized a woman on an icy lake in Bergen, and I watched the Lord. He supernaturally warmed the water up for his daughter to get baptized, and I never experienced anything like that. It was epic, and she's now on fire preaching the gospel. From Bergen, the Lord took me. I came back into Wales, then I went into Rome, Paris, and then I've been around Scotland again, and now I'm back here in Bristol with Ian, sharing a testimony. But the last month I've been away in Scotland. The Lord spoke to my spirit and told me to go into Scotland, and I went up into Scotland a month ago to meet a disciple there, and we prayed over him, and then he told me to go into Elderslie. And then he told me to go into Edinburgh. So I was kind of going and trusting the Lord to meet my every need. And he did that. As I stepped out, the provisions was coming. And it put more faith and more joy in me. I was like, wow, God, this is amazing. And then I was seeing souls coming to the Lord. One guy, he got born again, and we baptized him immediately in the sea. And he got filled with the Spirit. He was like, freedom, just completely delivered, and now he's being discipled in Dundee. So as you can see, I come alive is the Lord. This is who we are in him. So he had me, when I was in Dundee, then the Lord kind of spoke and said, go into the Isle of Skye. So I'm like, all right, here we go, Lord. It takes about 9 hours to get into Scotland from Bristol, and it takes a further 5 hours on the coach to get into Skye, because it's further up north. And the Isle of Skye is so beautiful. There's ancient wells there, and the church is flowing together in unity. And as I was going into the Isle of Skye, a contact in Aberdeen used to live in Skye, and she put my details out on her Facebook and let people know in Skye that a missionary was coming up. So, I mean, again, I had hardly no provision, and I'm like, look, but someone sewed £500 into my bank account, and then before I can blink, another £300 went into my bank account. I'm like, what is going on, Lord? Then someone gave me £20, and then this woman put my details out on her Facebook to let people know in Skye that I was coming up into Skye, and she knew a couple that owns a cafe called Relish, and she footed my morning and evening meal. And I'm like, Lord, I'm undone. The blessings are starting to overtake me. I can't cope, Lord. And I'm trying to get caught, I'm trying to wrap my head around this, and I'm abiding in the Lord and thanking him for what he's doing, and just more provision was coming my way. But yeah, when I was in the Isle of Skye, I witnessed one guy, he gave his heart to the Lord on a watchtower, and he just took me around the lands praying and encouraging the church. And then he took me from Skye to Doncaster to Etworth. I went into Etworth, where John Wesley lived, where he grew up with his family, where he did his studies, where they wrestled and travailed for Bristol and a coming revival. And, they've never done this in Etworth, but because I asked and I was the only one there, they let me pray over Susanna's prayer chair. I put my Bible in the prayer chair, man, and I was weeping. I'm like, Lord, what an honor this is. And I'm praying in for the Lord's redemptive purposes to be fulfilled for England, and kind of a pilgrimage. He took me on this pilgrimage to, reopen the wells and get refreshed too. But now I'm back here. Yeah, I'm back in Bristol with Ian, and I need to be quiet and get refreshed. So yeah, I'll leave it there.
That's really, really encouraging. It's so good to really, really amazing to hear your story, Colston. I've heard it a few times, but I always get amazed with what God's done, and really lovely hearing the testimony of Susanna Wesley's prayers and how God changed John Wesley's heart, and then of course he had a base here, so this is real Wesley territory. God's got so much more to happen here still. So bless you. Thanks so much. And it's amazing. That's lovely. Bless you loads. Thanks. Bye.